Hello, welcome. Gilli Pong here, ready to analyze some stuff. Let's try to just follow our intuition. We saw in the last video where I was discussing Sam Harris, the red pill of free will, that there were some other things to check out. And that was, let me see, Free Will is an Illusion with Lex Fridman, right? Isn't it Lex? Yeah, Lex Fridman. No, okay, he's Russian, I think. But as you saw, I have just watched a few, like 4 minutes of this just to begin with. So let's just start.
Turns out you were right. I'm going to ask you about free will.
Oh, okay.
You've recently released an episode of your podcast, Making Sense, for those with a shorter attention span, basically summarizing your position on free will. I think it was under an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Is it?
Starting from there, 1.5 hours to discuss free will, which takes 4 to 6 seconds to put in order.
It was brief and clear. So allow me to summarize the summary, TLDR, and maybe you tell me where I'm wrong. So free will is an illusion, and even the experience of free will is an illusion. Like, we don't even experience it. What am I good in my summary?
Yeah, this is a line that's a little hard to scan for people. I say that it's not merely that free will is an illusion. The illusion of free will is an illusion, right? Like, there is no illusion of free will.
What?
This is a line that's a little hard to scan for people.
This is a line that is really hard to scan for people.
I say that it's not merely that free will is an illusion. The illusion of free will is an illusion, right? Like, there is no illusion of free will. And that is
I have no comment.
Unlike many other illusions, that's a more fundamental claim. It's not that it's wrong. It's not even wrong. I mean, that's, I guess, that was I think Wolfgang Pauli who derided one of his colleagues or enemies with that aspersion about his theory in quantum mechanics. So there are things that there are genuine illusions. There are things that you do experience, and then you can kind of punch through that experience, or you can't actually experience. You can't experience them any other way. It's just we just know it's not a veridical experience. You just take like a visual illusion. There are visual illusions that, a lot of these come to me on Twitter these days. There's these amazing visual illusions where, like, every figure in this GIF seems to be moving, but nothing in fact is moving. You can just like put a ruler on your screen and nothing's moving. Some of those illusions you can't see any other way. I mean, they're hacking aspects of the visual system that are just eminently hackable, and you have to use a ruler to convince yourself that the thing isn't actually moving. Now, there are other visual illusions where you're taken in by it at first, but if you pay more attention, you can actually see that it's not there, right? Or it's not how it first seemed. Like the Necker cube is a good example of that. Like, the Necker cube is just that schematic of a cube, of a transparent cube, which pops out one way or the other. One face can pop out and the other face can pop out, but you can actually just see it as flat with no pop out, which is a more veridical way of looking at it. So there are kind of inward correlates to this, and I would say that the the sense of self and free will are closely related. I often describe them as two sides of the same coin, but they're not quite the same in their spuriousness. So the sense of self is something that people, I think, do experience, right? It's not a very clear experience, but it's not. I wouldn't call the illusion of self an illusion, but the illusion of free will is an illusion in that as you pay more attention to your experience, you begin to see that it's totally compatible with an absence of free will. You don't, coming back to the place we started, you don't know what you're going to think next. You don't know what you're going to intend next. You don't know what's going to just occur to you that you must do next. You don't know how much you are going to feel the behavioral imperative to act on that thought. If you suddenly feel, oh, I don't need to do that. I can do that tomorrow. You don't know where that comes from. You didn't know that was going to arise. You didn't know that was going to be compelling. All of this is compatible with some evil genius in the next room just typing in code into your experience. Just like this, okay, let's give him the, oh my God, I just forgot it was going to be our anniversary.
So, free will is given to us to decipher what is good versus what is bad, according to our values as souls coming on earth and experiencing this reality. Simple. If you do not know the difference between good and evil because you have read a book or because you have watched a movie or something is influencing your intelligence, or you've been raised in a broken home where your parents were evil to you and you thought love was supposed to be pain, something like that. That what he is saying makes sense, probably. It's an illusion. There's some mastermind next door, evil mastermind, by the way, next door to you that is writing code into you. He does not have any coherent understanding of this basic fundamental element that we have. You have free will. You can decide to do good when you have the clear option of doing bad. You can give the other cheek when somebody hits you instead of going for violence or going for negativity. Cognitive behavioral psychology is basically teaching you how to do this. You get a parking ticket and you scream at the parking ticket and you're angry because you just put $5 into the whole thing and then suddenly you have to pay $50 fine or whatever, and you're angry at it, and I'm not gonna buy it and I'm gonna rip it, and you can't rip it. They made the special paper that you can't rip, so you throw it away. What will happen? You will feel bad. Your consciousness is gonna feel sad and angry, and you're gonna be messed up, and then you're gonna get a bill that is gonna be $100, and then you're gonna have another fine, and it's just gonna cause things to go bad. So what can you change? The activating event A is the parking ticket. You cannot change that. That has already happened. Then you have B, belief. What is your belief? Parking ticket. I deserve it. I will take care of it right now. And I will pay it. There's a SCART code or whatever code that you have to, or a number or whatever, and you just pay the bill. And it's done. If you don't have the money, you call them, you talk about it, you make a deal, you fix it. Therefore, the conclusion, C, A, B, C, is positive. Just taking a very basic thing, like a parking ticket. The free will in this is your belief. And if you are like Sam Harris and you don't even, your intelligence is teaching you how not to believe. Not. It's just a random thing that happens to you. Of course, there's no free will.
In 1 week thought, right? Give him the cascade of fear. Give him this brilliant idea for the thing he can buy that's going to take him no time at all, and this overpowering sense of relief. All of our experience is compatible with the script already being written, right? And I'm not saying the script is written. I'm not saying that fatalism is the right way to look at this, but we just don't have even our most deliberate voluntary action where we go back and forth between two options, thinking about the reason for A and then reconsidering and going thinking harder about B and just going eeny, meeny, miny, mo until the end of the hour. However laborious you can make it, there is a utter mystery at your back finally promoting the thought or intention or rationale that is most compelling and therefore deliberate, behaviorally effective, and just this can drive some people a little crazy. So I usually preface what I say about free will with the caveat that if thinking about your mind this way makes you feel terrible, well then stop. Get off the ride. Switch the channel. You don't have to go down this path. But for me and for many other people, it's incredibly freeing to recognize this about the mind, because
now he's describing this mind, which is a metaphysical thing, as if it's some kind of concrete thing that you can think about. This man is full of nonsense, and he can articulate things in a very, very good way, and he's very good in probably inspiring and being a Tom Cruise in Magnolia kind of character, trying to get you to believe in yourself instead of God, and but it's pure bullshit, man.
One, you realize that cutting through the illusion of the self is immensely freeing for a lot of reasons that we can talk about separately. But losing the sense of free will does two things very vividly for me. One is it totally undercuts the psychological basis for hatred, right? Because when you think about the experience of hating other people, what that is anchored to is a feeling that they really are the true authors of their actions. I mean, that someone is doing something that you find so despicable, right? Let's say they're targeting you unfairly, right? They're maligning you on Twitter, or they're suing you, or they're doing something. They broke your car window. They did something awful, and now you have a grievance against them, and you're relating to them very differently emotionally in your own mind than you would if a force of nature had done this, right? Or if it had just been a virus, or if it had been a wild animal, or a malfunctioning machine, right? Like, to those things you don't attribute any kind of freedom of will. And while you may suffer the consequences of catching a virus or being attacked by a wild animal or having your car break down or whatever, it may frustrate you. You don't slip into this mode of hating the agent in a way that completely commandeers your mind and deranges your life. I mean, you just don't. I mean, there are people who spend decades hating other people for what they did, and it's just pure poison. Right?
So it's a useful shortcut to compassion and empathy.
Yeah.
But the question is, say that let's call, what was it, the horse of consciousness? Let's call it the consciousness generator black box that we don't understand. And is it possible that the script that we're walking along, that we're playing, that's already written, is actually being written in real time? It's almost like you're driving down a road and in real time that road is being laid down.
Yeah.
And this black box of consciousness that we don't understand is the place where this script is being generated. So it is being generated, it didn't always exist. So there's something we don't understand that's fundamental about the nature of reality that generates both consciousness, let's call it maybe the self. I don't know if you want to distinguish between those.
Yeah, I definitely would. Yeah.
Reality doesn't generate consciousness. We have a mechanism in our heart that is giving it energy to beat. We have electricity in the body. We have all the elements in the body. And they are all coinciding into creating this experience that is happening. That is the thing that evacuates the body when you die. It's the soul. Very good word for it. But when you're always trying to use language and not go for the already patterned out things that men have used a lot of time and a lot of thought and a lot of mental energy into writing down and making concise descriptions of, then of course you're always going to dance around this subject. We have free will to stand up and walk out and do whatever we want to do. But what they are describing is the influence that is blocking us from doing so. And there are outside influences trying to block you from blooming into your most beautiful self. Whether it's other people suing you, the government pushing laws in order for you to park your car in a certain place or stop at a light at a certain place. So you can follow that rule or you can break that rule. And that is the free will that you decide based on your intelligence and based on your consciousness and the values you have generated as a human being to do. When you have a child that is growing up, you as a parent help them understand. Don't take the toy away from your sister. Don't hit her over the head with the tool or the toy. It's bad. You're gonna create... If you go for violence, violence will spawn more violence. If you go for hate, hate will spawn more hate. If you go for anger, anger will spawn more anger. It is a intelligent way of handling life. But if you're always a victim to everything around you, then you're always going to lose that aspect of you, which is free will.
You would, because there's a bunch of illusions we're referring to. There's the illusion of free will, there's the illusion of self, and there's the illusion of consciousness. You're saying, I think you said you're not as willing to say there's an illusion of consciousness. You're a little bit more.
In fact, I would say it's impossible.
Impossible.
Yeah.
There is not an illusion of free will. There is both this, what they speak of, and the actual free will. Same way with the self. It isn't really real, but it's also real at the same time. Two things are happening at the same time. Even more things are happening at the same time. So, removing one thing doesn't just make it magically disappear. You will still feel the consequences of taking an action in life that is going to spawn based on the thing that you generated into it or pushed into it. And if you are an angry human being, you're gonna get a lot of anger towards you back. It's called ignorant desires. And then there are the higher desires, which are intelligence and knowledge and forgiveness and compassion and patience and empathy. These are desires that you can go for, but they're harder to achieve because you have to mature and grow as a human being, as a soul in this vessel. And that's the whole game that is being played on Earth, in my opinion. And I feel Sam Harris is full of this bullshit that you can get when you are deluded by these ideas.
You're a little bit more willing to say that there's an illusion of self, and you're definitely saying there's an illusion of free will.
Yes. And I'm definitely saying there's an illusion, that a certain kind of self is an illusion. Not every, we mean many different things by this notion of self. So maybe I should just differentiate these things. So
even though this man doesn't say he has a belief system, he still has a belief system. That's the trick. Because when you say the thing isn't real, doesn't make it not real. You can try to convince yourself, you can write a book about it, you can try to educate everyone about your definition of whatever it is, but it's never gonna really resonate in reality when you practically do it.
Consciousness can't be an illusion because any illusion proves its reality as much as any other veridical perception. I mean, if you're hallucinating now, that's just as much of a demonstration of consciousness as really seeing what's, quote, actually there. If you're dreaming and you don't know it, that is consciousness, right? You can be confused about literally everything. You can't be confused about the underlying claim, whether you make it linguistically or not, but just the cognitive assertion that something seems to be happening. It's the seeming that is the cash value of consciousness.
Can I take a tiny tangent?
Okay.
So what if I am creating consciousness in my mind to convince you that I'm human? So
this is the fallacy. I am creating consciousness in my mind. You're not creating it, it's happening to you. It's a happening. And where is that created? Where's that happening? Where's the happening? Who is creating the happening? Who is making this reality what it is? What is it? When you don't have a belief in God, this doesn't make any sense to you, of course. You're always trying to find some way of recreating it in a virtual reality or trying to decipher it with some theory about what's going on. And I think quantum physics is right there, Trying to find the conceptual tools to comprehend it. Just meditate. Be with it. Pray to God. And he will make himself visible to you. And if you pray to Lucifer, he will also come to you. And he will give you all the things that you might want and be tempted with. You can lose your soul in this reality, and that's real. Just look at Hollywood. Look at the people who are, masters of this universe. Look at them. Use your intelligence, use your intuition, use your heart, use your cognitive abilities to look at these people and see how they're acting. If you don't abide to the real plan that is happening, and you become a victim to someone else's plan. And a lot of people are caught up in that. And I've been caught up in that. And it's very easy to see when you realize it.
it's a useful social tool, not a fundamental property of experience, like of being a living thing? What if it's just like a social tool to almost like a useful computational trick to place myself into reality as we together communicate about this reality?
Well-
And another way to ask that, because you said it much earlier, you talked negatively about robots, as you often do. So let me, because you'll probably die first when they take over.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to certain kind of robots. I mean, I'm not. If we can get this right, this would be amazing.
Right, but you don't like the robots that fake consciousness. That's what you
Well-
don't like the idea of fake it till you make it.
Well, no, it's not that I don't like it. It's that I'm worried that we.
You're already this thing that you're trying to describe. This robot. That's you, Sam Harris. Bionic robot working around with your illusion of free will. You know? You are the programmer of your own quantum computer that is already realized in us, this bionic thing that you cannot describe and cannot figure out, trying to recreate. That has been created by God. So this is the illusion of the self that is trying to make it all about itself, and this monkey mind. Should I eat this, or should I do this, or should I watch this, or should I... who am I? Who is this I? My name, I. Gilli Pong, I. What is this I? And it's always trying to deceive you. And this is the thing that's blocking us from meditating and praying. Especially if you haven't forgiven your father and mother. If you haven't forgiven God. If you haven't forgiven, and forgiveness is free will. To forgive is one of the biggest gifts you can give anyone in your life. And I just want to show you one little video, because I'm tired of this nonsense. Human documentary. I'm just going to show you this. Don't gonna talk anymore. Volume 1. Just watch this with me.
I remember my stepfather, would beat me, and he would beat me with extension cords and hangers and, pieces of wood and all kinds of stuff. And, after every beating, he would tell me, it hurt me more than it hurt you. And, I only did it because I love you. It was kind of, it communicated the wrong message to me about what love was. So for many years, I thought that love was supposed to hurt. And I hurt everyone that I love. And I measured love by how much pain someone would take from me. And it wasn't until I came to prison in an environment that is devoid of love that I began to have some sort of understanding about what it actually was and was not. And I met someone, and she gave me my first real insight into what love was, because she saw past my conditions and the fact that I was in prison with a life sentence for murder, and not only for murder, but for doing the worst kind of murder that a man can do, murdering a woman and a child. And it was Agnes, the mother and grandmother of Patricia and Chris, the woman and child that I murdered, who gave me my best lesson about love, because by all rights, she should hate me. But she didn't. And over the course of time, and through the journey that we took, that's been pretty amazing. She she gave me love. And she taught me what it was.
I hope you understand.